What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Traveling Trader. Hope you guys are doing well. In this video, we will be talking about the recent EV market dip and how that relates specifically to four stocks: NIO, SBE, Ciic, which is merging with Arrival, and XPEV, which is the Chinese EV company, the other Chinese EV company, the first one being NIO. So if you're into EV stocks at any capacity, you obviously know that recently we've had a market dip on quite a few of the marquee names, not named Tesla. Even Tesla saw a recent dip from $600, which is currently its all-time high. I wasn't holding a lot of these stocks because they have just run up too much for my liking, right? It's too rich for my blood at these price points. So I was constantly getting questions about, should I buy SBE at $30 or should I buy NIO at $57? And for me, that's just not a viable trade. I will never trade like that. So I like to wait for retracements. I like to wait for the stocks to retrace to these major moving averages. You don't need to be a technical analyst geek to be able to recognize them. We are now at that point on a lot of these stocks. So let me get right into it. But before I do, if you get anything out of this video, leave it a big fat thumbs up just like this. Leave it in the comment section below. Let me know which one of these stocks you are trading or are currently in or are looking to get into. And if you want access to our trading group where I send out all of my plays, link is in the description below. We had a couple of nice plays on these stocks already. So let us get right into it. Let's start with NIO. So with NIO actually hit the 21 EMA finally. This really marks the first time officially since September 2020. And I always get the question about NIO and about, some of these other stocks. Well, how do you know it's going to hit the 21 EMA? How do you know it's going to hit the 50 moving average? I don't think it will ever hit that. I've missed the boat. The stock has just gone on without me. Guys, stocks will always retrace to their moving averages. Now, these things are dynamic and they move along with the stock price, but they will always regress to the mean. It's just a matter of time. And when it does, that's when you have to pounce. It's for me, buying at the high at an arbitrary level when there is nothing to anchor it is just not an option for me. That's not how I trade. That's not how I've always traded. The way that I've done it, which is load up on the major dips, has always served me right for almost 2 decades. So I'm very much okay waiting on a stock until it retraces. Now, I've been involved in NIO one way or the other over, since January, I guess, since back when it was a $2 stock. But in this case, it has run up too far from my blood, and now we are at the 21 EMA, and I'm happy buying at this level. I also have a cash secured put on NIO at $35. I did a whole video on cash secured puts, specifically with regards to NIO, but can be applied to any stock. I'll link that up here. But in my view, this is when you want to buy stocks like NIO. NIO tanked 33% over the course of a week, right? If you were willing to buy it, if you were ready and willing to buy it at 57, you should be ready and willing to buy it at 37. It's a no-brainer. I know it's counterproductive to buy things as they're going down, but if you're going to have any chance at winning in the market, that's when you have to buy, during the dips and the crashes. In my opinion, your money, you could do what you like. Now, one thing to consider with NIO as well as with XPEV, since they are both Chinese companies, there is actually a vote today in the House that will decide the fate of Chinese stocks on American markets, right? This bill already passed the Senate, and now it's up to a House vote. And if the House votes to delist Chinese stocks, which a lot of analysts are saying that is the very likely scenario, then China will have 3 years to comply, or these Chinese companies will have 3 years to comply. And if they don't, then they will be delisted off of US stock exchanges. Now, in this situation, that is part of the reason why we saw an EV market dip, specifically with Chinese companies as well, like NIO and XPEV. You see here, this one also retraced to the 21 EMA. Part of the reason was obviously because they were overextended, but this has a lot to do with it. This China vote, the Chinese stock vote that is going to hit the House today. I think they're voting on it at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So you definitely want to play the overreactions. Like, I'm happy buying these stocks at these levels. If they are going to be delisted, that process takes 3 years at least. So it's not like they're going to be delisted immediately, right? China, they will give China a very long time window to comply. And in my view, because both countries need each other, right? The US needs China just as much as China needs the US, at least from a business standpoint, they will likely come to some sort of agreement. This is just speculation on my part, but that is my reading of the situation. I don't think that China can afford for the US companies to delist all of their stocks from the biggest stock exchange in the world. And I don't think the US wants to take trillions of dollars worth of market cap off of the US stock exchanges. So while I think the House will actually vote in favor of delisting the Chinese companies, it's not really a vote to delist them. It's a vote to delist them if they don't comply within a 3-year window, right? So that is my take on it. And I actually think that as traders, we have to play the overreactions in this situation here, right? So moving on to XPEV, this one also fell to the 21 EMA. Beautiful opportunity to buy. I actually issued a buy alert in our trading group. If you want access, sign up below. But I actually issued a buy this morning, and it is now back up to almost $56 after hitting a low of $46. So up almost $10 in one day. Now, another way to play this would have been to sell a cash secured put on XPEV, especially if you caught it at the 21 EMA. You could sell a credit put spread as well. Same thing on NIO. You could have also bought leaps if you are bullish on these companies for the long term. And there is an article that was just released today on Investors Business Daily about these Chinese EV stocks and how their volume of deliveries just keeps rising, right? Especially with NIO and XPEV. Obviously, BYD is another major player in the Chinese market, but these three are really considered high growth, pure potential plays. BYD is already a big company in China, and they're not only an EV maker, they make a lot of products actually. But you really want to get used to this, either buying the dips and or playing options on the dips, especially when they are anchored by these major moving averages or major support levels. It's one of the easiest ways to make money is to sell cash secured puts on these hysterical or exaggerated drops, right? Or selling credit put spreads, for instance. You can also buy leap calls, which I did a video of, and I will link it here as well. How to buy leaps on stocks that have declined, but that you are still bullish on in the future. So my midterm target for XPEV is still around $70. I've said it time and time again. I believe NIO will be at least $100 stock within 1 to 2 years, and I still stand by that. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the House vote yields today, so I'll be waiting anxiously to see what comes out of that. We could see, more of an overreaction in the market if they do definitively vote to delist those Chinese stocks, right? If they don't comply, we could see drops to the 50 moving average or maybe even the 100 moving average on some of these stocks. I'm not saying it's going to happen on NIO, but I mean, we're talking about Chinese stocks in general, like Baba or Pinduoduo or JD, etc. So I'll be very curious to see what happens there, and I will be looking to pick up the crumbs on those overreactions if and when it does happen. All right, let's get into CIIC, which is merging with Arrival. Again, the 21 EMA. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Some of you have never seen it in action. On this day, you are seeing it in action all across the board, right? The 21 EMA seems to be the anchor, especially on this major drop in the EV market. Again, CIIC, when all the YouTubers were talking about it, I was getting recommended videos up the ass on CIIC. A lot of them don't really know enough about technical analysis to give you these major support levels, which are better buy points than, something like Arrival hitting $30 and a lot of people on YouTube saying, hey, you should buy Arrival right now, even though it tanked 50% since it hit $30, right? You're not going to get a lot of that out of most of the newer channels, but you will get that here for sure. And that is why you subscribe to this channel. And I appreciate you guys for being here. So with that said, happy to pick up Arrival at a 50% discount, 50%, right? When everybody was buying at 30 and 31 and 32, I will happily buy Arrival at $17. And I issued an alert for CIIC later today. Now, one other thing you can do with SPACs, a lot of people might not know about this, especially if you're new to the markets. You can actually trade warrants against the SPACs. So when SPACs are issued, the way that they raise money in the form of shares in the SPACs, right? Which is exactly what you're looking at here. You're buying shares of CIIC, they also issue warrants, which you can think of as sort of options against these shares, right? They're not options, they're warrants, but it basically gives the purchaser the option to buy the shares at a specific price at a specific date. The difference between options and warrants is that warrants are issued by the company themselves, whereas an option is an agreement between a buyer and a seller, like me, who's a trader, and another trader on the other end of the screen, right? Whereas warrants are a contract between the company and the investor. So you can actually trade warrants on most of these SPACs. And the reason that you'd want to do that is because these warrants trade like penny stocks. So for instance, here is CIIC, right? And it is trading right now at around $19.48. If you look up the CIIC warrants, which in this case, the ticker symbol would be, you just add a W to the end of it, you can see that this is currently trading at $4.58, right? Now, why is this viable? Well, because again, because it trades like a penny stock, you actually have a lot more potential profit trading the warrants than you do trading the shares. I like to do a little bit of both. But for instance, if you traded this move from when CIIC broke out after the merger was announced, you know, you could, from the bottom to the top was about a 633% gain on the warrants versus, you know, less on the actual shares. So I do like to play a mix of the warrants as well as the shares themselves. A lot of people don't know that you could trade the warrants. Now, on some brokers, you can't actually trade the warrants. So I believe on Robinhood, it might not be available, but on brokers like Thinkorswim or Fidelity, you can trade the warrants. You would just have to look up, you know, the actual ticker symbol for the warrants. In this case, it's CIICW. Now for CIIC, as with other SPACs, after the merger goes through, right before the merger goes through or it's voted on, you do expect to see another rally, right? So there's an announcement of who they're going to merge with, and then there's the actual merger date after the vote takes place. And we tend to see another rally, most times hitting the previous highs that we've seen before. So I am looking for $30 or more on CIIC. All right, last but not least, we'll take a look at SBE. Again, the 21 EMA, the white line on my chart. This stuff isn't magic. I've been around the markets a long time and I know how these things trade. I sent out an alert on SBE as well this morning as we hit the 21 EMA. Now, I just want to make it clear, it doesn't mean that we won't fall below the 21 EMA, but that is a good first anchor point. So would you rather buy SBE when everybody was saying buy it at $40? Or would you rather buy SBE as it took a dive, you know, losing almost 41%? I'd much rather buy a 40% discount than buy this thing at the top and seeing my money dwindle away at the bottom. Because if we fall from here, it is a much shorter fall from grace than if you fall from $42, right? If we fall from here to the 50 MA, what I'm going to do, I'll just increase my position. I'm not really sweating it because it's not that big of a drop. If I was bag holding from $42 all the way down to, say, the 50 moving average at 18, I'd be in a world of pain. So with SBE, I'm looking to get back to the $40 range in the midterm. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you got anything out of this video, leave it a big fat thumbs up. Sign up if you want access to the trade alerts. Link is in the description below. Remember, guys, you want to fade the market, right? Buy the drops, sell the tops. You don't want to do the opposite where everyone's telling you to buy when this thing is overinflated, not really having a sense of technical analysis, not knowing what are the key levels that you should be looking at for, you know, first buys and second buys, etc. Leave it in the comment section below. Let me know which one of these you are already picking up, which ones you are already into, if you're in them, what your cost basis was. I'm curious to hear about your guys' positions. Sign up if you want access to our private trading group with the trade alerts, the portfolios. You get to discuss strategies, entries, exits with all of our community members. There are over 1,000 traders in there. It is becoming a very vibrant, positive, lovely community, and I love you guys for it. Subscribe to the channel, hoping that I get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That is my goal. Whether we get there or not, I don't know. Hoping that is the case. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Stay safe out there, traders. Peace.